Good afternoon, colleagues. I'm very glad to see you here, to be here, to discuss together very important questions of our cooperation. And we understood from first pages, which had a lot of very polite words, that in the same time we have a lot of very deep contradictions. We have real contradictions, and to build a road which will connect us, which can help us to solve these contradictions. This is a really important and very ambitious task. And I prefer to talk not only about extremely positive, beautiful, and abstract goals, but also about real problems which we must overcome if we want to do something practically. That's why I want to remind you that Russia had in past Soviet Union, and Soviet Union had old traditions, big traditions of cooperation with China. It was not only beautiful, mutual constructing of enterprises, it was not only real friendship for decades and decades, real friendship, very deep, very going from heart. But it was also a problem of military conflicts, of mutual, not very beautiful words, I will tell it very politely, and so on and so far. And now there are a lot of doubts if China is a real friend of Russia, if Russia is possible friend of Europe and China and Azerbaijan and Armenia, because we want to be friends with Armenia and with Azerbaijan, and as you understood, it's not so simple to be together friends with these two countries. And this is not only the case. It can be the case with Europe, where maybe in the future Greece and Britain will be opposing each other. And let's remember that in Europe, 15, 20 years ago, it was bombarding of the cities in Yugoslavia, and it was war in the center of Europe. So to cooperate with Europe is not an absolutely simple question. It can be war inside Europe. And it was in practice in 1990s. So that's why we must remember this past and go further. What is important for modern situation? I will give you some statistical illustration. I don't have too much time, but this is well-known figures. Yes, Russia is cooperating with China. China is fourth partner for us. We are 10th partner for China. We have permanent growth of our interconnections with China, and China has the same growth of interconnections with Russia, and this is fast growth, especially from 1990s. We have a good partnership in the sphere of creation of common corporations. We have interesting statistic about balance of different branches of economy and cooperation with China. By the way, if you want, I can give you my PowerPoint presentation with all the statistics or send to everybody, it's not a problem. We have interesting model of exchange between China and Russia, and the problem is, 50 years ago, Soviet Union was producer of not bad technique for China, and not only for China, and China was mainly exporting to our country raw materials. Now situation is absolutely opposite. 2/3 of our export to China is raw materials, oil, gas, and so on. And we are transporting from China now not only consumer goods, but also materials interconnected with production, investment goods, machinery and equipment. And this is very good for China, but not very good for Russia, by the way. If we continue this, we can see that China became main partner for Russia in Asia region, and this is also positive that we have this growth of turnover of our cooperation. But if we want to talk about future, we must take into the consideration that we have three alternatives. Alternative 0, I did not put to the PowerPoint presentation. This is bad alternative of decline of our interrelations. I do believe that it's unrealistic and will be never realized. So alternative 1, just continuation of the situation which we have now. Nothing else, nothing new. And this is not bad, because as I showed before, this is growth. This is growing cooperation. But if we take into the consideration balance of export and import, the quality and structure of this export and import between Russia and China, we understand that for our countries it's not so beneficial to deal only with raw materials, export of oil, gas, and so on. This is not very good for Russia. And this is not very good for China because you can take from our country a lot of very useful things, not only oil and gas, honestly. We are not so stupid, by the way. And we have good intellectual potential. Maybe coming of Buzgalin is not the best example, but you can find really good scholars and scientists in my country. So we have to find something new, more ambitious, if we want to solve real contradictions. Because I'm afraid if we continue the same model, in 1, 2, 5, maximum 10 years, it will be maybe not collapse, but very big contradiction in our relations. Russia, as exporter of oil, will go to the dead end, to the really deep crisis. And I do not want to have this crisis for my country. And if we change the situation, China will not have gas and oil and must find something new. And we want to have from China not only good genes and so on, but we want to have high-tech production from China. And I think it can be extremely important for Azerbaijan, Armenia, Iran, all our countries. It can be extremely important for Europe, because peaceful cooperation of our two countries with Europe is key point. I want to add, to repeat, key point for peace in the world. If we have growth of conflict between Asia and Europe, which is now coming through Ukraine, where China is neutral, but neutral is not alliance with Europe, and it's not alliance with Russia. And really, neutral position of China for Russia is support of Russia. I will tell you honestly, for us this is very important. I'm not a big fan of activity of Mr. Putin, but in any case, the situation is as it is. So what can be the alternative? First of all, I think if we want to build a new Silk Road, we have to have ambitious projects interconnected not only with railway system or other forms of transportation. It's not enough. It's first step, infrastructure project. But railway is not only railway. This is huge system of different activities around railway system. It was true for 19th century, it was true for 20th century, and it is still true for 21st century. So, first of all, ambitious infrastructure project which is interconnected with huge amount of other activities around railway. Second, high-tech production. We still have in Russia, even in the situations of stagnation, a lot of extremely interesting high-tech results. It's maybe partly joke, but only partly. When we have a lot of Russian specialists sitting in Moscow, but working as employees of US and West European transnational corporations in high-tech sphere. Maybe it's not bad to have our high-tech corporations, not only Russian, I will tell about these two words later, but Chinese, Russian, Azerbaijan, Armenian corporations where we can use really big intellectual potential of our countries. I mentioned about education in past. It was one of the best systems of education which we created together with Asia. It was not only Soviet Union system. And Soviet Union included a lot of countries. It was not only Russia. So, because of that, we can develop fundamental science and education. And it will be a really ambitious project. And education is much more strong built than railway system. Mr. Ikunin is not here, that's why I can tell this. Or he will kill me when I'm back in Moscow. But to be serious, when we have a common system of education based on specific values, specific methods, specific goals, we have common language. And common language for development of projects is more important than simply railway road. But I started, railway road is important, but not only. So if we talk about such type of development, we need also to have humanistic orientation, fundamental orientation of education. It's not enough to follow to the US model. I will be absolutely honest with you. It's not enough to follow to the US model to prepare narrow specialists. I'm not big lover of professionals. It can be professional killer, it can be professional specialist in high tech and so on, but it's necessary to understand what you are doing, for what are the strategic goals. Such type of culture, such type of education is adequate for civilizations of China, Russia, Armenia, which had, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 years of history, yeah? The same for all our countries. We have another traditions, and we must use this as basis for the future step forward. There are also a lot of interesting aspects interconnected with mechanisms of cooperation. I will make announcement, like a small advertising. Tomorrow will be a new Silk Road Forum. And in this forum, I'm a plenary speaker, and we'll talk more about mechanisms of cooperation. Now, only announcement, because I have a few minutes left. First of all, it should be not only market. Every country knows that 35 minimum, 55 maximum % of GNP is redistributed through the state. This is well-known figures. Why not to use this model for new Silk Road? Why only market cooperation? First point. Second point, WTO rules are not adequate for the development in the future. This is very provocative point. But for Russia, WTO created not very good rules. I don't know about China. You negotiated many years and received a lot of positive results. But still, it's not enough. Because really this free trade zone is good for huge capital, for transnational corporations, but it's not very good for people. It's not very good for education. It's not very good for small business. It's terrible for Russian agriculture. I don't know about Chinese. I think the same for Armenia, for other countries in Central Asia. So that's why we must develop rules of WTO. We must be ambitious, or we can be, or we should be, I don't know. I'm not so good in English to find the details in this must, should, and have to. So also it's very important to have social orientation of this project. Cynical making money is maybe not bad, but for such countries as Russia and China, it's not enough. We were making money and again money and profit during 25 years of shock therapy reforms, and finally country is in the stagnation. For such countries as Russia and China, only pragmatic market private property orientation is a road to dead end. I don't want to have new Silk Road as a road to the dead end. We must find new goals. Not only profitability for corporations and for the national economies. It must be more ambitious, more social, more humanistic. I'm maybe too much romantic, but this is Buzgalin, this is my soul, and this is my type of presentation of different activities. I will not give you more. I hope that Sunrise will be in the future, and you are welcome to contact me. Thank you.